Alright, so this video will give you everything you need to understand AI agents. We've put together a full guide that breaks down all the hype around AI agents and shows you step by step how to build your own. Just a heads up, this video is pretty comprehensive. You'll definitely want to grab a notepad or something because there is a lot to take in. It might be tough to process all of it in one go, so feel free to watch it in parts and come back to it later. Every chapter is important, and some sections you'll probably want to rewatch a few times to really absorb it, but that's the goal. We wanted this to be a deep and valuable resource, so if something doesn't click the first time, no worries, just come back and watch that part again, okay? So here's what we'll cover. First, we'll break down what an AI agent actually is and how it's different from things like AI chatbots or automation workflows. Next, we'll explore real-world AI agent examples. We'll also talk about the future of multi-agent systems. In the next chapter, we'll break down how to actually build effective AI agents by walking through the key patterns used in modern agentic systems. You'll learn about core concepts like retrieval, tools, and memory, and how to combine them using different underlying patterns to create reliable agentic workflows. Okay? Then I'll give you an overview of n8n, the workflow builder we'll be using today, and I'll also compare it to tools like Zapier and Make.com so you can see where it stands out and when it makes sense to use it over the other tools. After that, I'll walk you through a few step-by-step builds in n8n. We'll start with a simple agentic workflow from scratch. It will use tools and memory to pull contact information from a database and send emails. Then we'll dive into RAG and walk through how to connect your AI agent to a vector database so that it can fetch some specific or up-to-date info. We'll also connect it to WhatsApp, of course. Next, we'll break down APIs, HTTP requests, and webhooks, which are essential skills if you want to build more advanced or custom workflows. And to wrap things up, I'll share some pro tips and best practices like how to handle errors and a few other tricks that will save you a ton of time and help you build more reliable production-ready systems. So by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of what AI agents are, what they are not, and when to actually use them. You'll also know exactly how to build AI-powered workflows in n8n, including using tools like RAG, vector databases, and API requests. So grab your favorite beverage, get your notepad ready, and let's dive in. Just a quick disclaimer, who am I and why am I doing this? If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I run an AI agency. We've spent the past year building AI systems for various businesses. That means I've got both the hands-on experience of selling AI agentic solutions and also a solid understanding of how they work. To be fully transparent, I've put over a month of research and prep into this video because YouTube is one of the main ways I connect with my clients. So if you find these insights valuable and want to explore a potential project, feel free to reach out to my agency directly. We also run an educational program, our AI Fellowship, where we teach others how to build, package, and sell AI systems themselves. So whether you're looking to automate your own workflows or start an AI agency, this video will definitely give you a ton of value. And yep, you may consider working with me and my team, and that's exactly why I've spent a ridiculous amount of time and effort putting this video together for you. The term agent can mean different things depending on who you ask. Some see agents as completely autonomous systems that operate independently for extended periods using different tools to complete complex tasks. Others use the term just for more structured setups, but still they follow predefined workflows step by step. Both of these might fall under the broader category of agentic systems, but there is an important difference between workflows and agents, and this was clearly laid out by Anthropic in their blog post. So, workflows rely on predefined code paths to orchestrate LLMs and tools in a structured way. Agents, on the other hand, operate more dynamically. LLMs make their own decisions about how to use tools and execute tasks, adjusting their process as they go. So the key distinction is that workflows follow a script, while agents think and adapt in real time. Let's also clarify what is not an AI agent. Single prompt AI responses. If you enter a prompt and get a one-time response, like asking ChatGPT a question, that's just an LLM query, not an agent. Agents remember context and take multiple steps toward a goal. Basic rule-based automations. Simple if this, then that workflows, like if an email contains invoice, forward it, not an agent. In this case, they don't make independent decisions or adapt dynamically. Then we have pre-scripted chatbots. A chatbot that follows a predefined conversation flow is not an agent. Agents decide their own next steps instead of following a rigid script. And human-triggered workflows. If a process requires manual input at every step, like clicking a button to move forward, it's an automation, not an agent. Agents act autonomously without constant human intervention. Imagine an AI customer support agent that doesn't just answer questions, but also ask follow-up questions to qualify a lead, book appointments, send emails, and handle an entire interaction without human intervention. So the key difference is that an agent doesn't just follow instructions. It analyzes, adapts, and decides its next move based on the situation and available tools. To wrap this up, you only need to remember 3 characteristics of an AI agent: autonomy, decision-making and reasoning, and context awareness. Autonomy means that AI agents don't just respond once and stop. They can take multiple steps, make decisions along the way, and continue working toward a goal without constant input. Decision-making and reasoning means that instead of just blindly following preset rules, AI agents think through their actions, kind of like having an internal thought process to figure out the best next step. And context awareness means that they don't just process one command at a time. AI agents can keep track of past inputs, ongoing tasks, and external data so that they can adjust their behavior in real time. Over the past couple of years, we've seen massive breakthroughs in large language models like GPT and Claude. These models can now do things that used to feel like science fiction, right? Things like holding conversations, writing code, planning tasks, you name it. Now, businesses are always trying to cut down on repetitive manual tasks, to save costs and drive more revenue. And this is exactly what AI agents are built for. Unlike basic automations, as I already said, they can handle multi-step workflows, they can adapt to changes in real time, they can just get things done without needing input from humans at every step. And that's why they're getting so much attention. They have potential to reshape the way we work. Now, let's break down the difference between AI agents and AI chatbots. Traditional chatbots are mostly reactive, right? They wait for a user to say something and then respond with a pre-scripted or learned reply. If you've used chatbot building tools like VoiceFlow or BotPress, you know the process. You create a conversation flow using building blocks or nodes, like on this screenshot, scripting the entire interaction step by step. AI agents, on the other hand, can be proactive. They don't just wait for input, they can take action on their own without needing a user to guide them at every step. For example, a chatbot might only respond when you trigger it, when you say hello, but an AI agent could monitor incoming emails, determine if a reply is needed, draft a response, and even send it, all on its own. And pretty much the same difference is with voice bots. A voice bot is basically a chatbot with the voice infrastructure layered on top. And just like chatbots, they follow a scripted flow, but instead of typing, users interact by speaking. And if we were to compare AI agents to traditional automation tools, while standard automation works on fixed rules, like if a new row appears in my spreadsheet, send me an alert. Everything is pre-scripted. AI agents also automate tasks, but they bring something extra: decision-making. Think of them as mini problem solvers that can read an email, determine if it's high priority or not, and either respond or forward it or schedule a meeting, all without you manually setting those rules. Now that we are on the same page as for what AI agents are, let's see how they are being used today. One of the most common use cases is customer service automation. Well, obviously, answering FAQs, handling tickets, categorizing them, and even escalating urgent cases. All of that can be done by AI agents, and unlike basic chatbots that just reply to messages, AI agents can proactively route tickets or send personalized responses. Then we've got marketing and sales. In marketing, AI agents qualify leads automatically. If someone signs up for a mailing list, an agent can analyze their job title, company size, and engagement, and then decide if they're a strong lead or not. It can also enrich data from LinkedIn, for instance, send follow-ups and nurture leads with personalized emails, handing them off to sales at the perfect time. And of course, personal productivity. For individuals, AI agents act like always-on assistants, managing inboxes, scheduling meetings, drafting emails, and even creating content. And again, unlike basic automations, they understand context, making smart decisions without your input. Also, one of the most promising applications of AI agents, coding agents. If you listen to people like Mark Zuckerberg or Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, they are both predicting that AI will be writing most of the code pretty soon, possibly as early as 2025.
I think this year, probably in 2025, we at Meta, as well as the other companies that are basically working on this, are going to have an AI that can effectively be a sort of mid-level engineer that you have at your company that can write code. And once you have that, then in the beginning it'll be really expensive to run, then you can get it to be more efficient, and then over time we'll get to the point where a lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers.
If I look at coding, programming, which is one area where AI is making the most progress, what we are finding is we are not far from a world, I think we'll be there in 3 to 6 months, where AI is writing 90% of the code. And then in 12 months, we may be in a world where AI is writing essentially all of the code.
So unlike many other tasks, coding has a built-in feedback loop, right? It is verifiable. You can test it and tests either pass or fail. And this makes it a perfect fit for AI agents because they can learn and refine output step by step. For example, an AI agent can generate a piece of code, run unit tests, check what breaks, and then adjust its approach. This continuous cycle of testing and improvement helps the agent get closer to a correct solution, something that is much harder in tasks without clear pass or fail signals. Of course, there are challenges. Many real-world code bases don't have comprehensive test coverage. Sometimes the agent doesn't get enough feedback to understand why a test failed. Plus, coding in the real world is often messier and more complex than, neatly packaged examples that most LLMs are trained on, but still, progress has been really impressive. Even now, when we hire a new developer, we don't focus as much on their knowledge of specific coding languages like we used to. With AI coding copilots becoming more powerful, with vibe coding, that part is becoming less and less important. What really matters is how they think. Can they take a problem, break it down, and figure out a solution on their own, or do they need step-by-step instructions to get anything done? That's what we care about the most. Alright, there is also a lot of talk about vertical AI agents. Agents designed for highly specific tasks in particular industries. For example, an AI agent built for the construction industry could be fine-tuned to interpret floor plans, navigate different regulations across jurisdictions, and even draft construction permits. And this concept applies to almost any industry. Whether it's finance, healthcare, legal, or manufacturing, we are going to see AI agents that are deeply specialized, making them even more powerful and reliable for industry-specific tasks. And that's why Y Combinator partners claim that vertical AI agents could be 10x bigger than SaaS. Before we wrap up this section, I want to touch on a really powerful concept: using multiple AI agents working together like a team. Instead of building one big kind of do-it-all agent, it's often more effective to create several specialized agents, each focused on a specific task with their own tools and logic. Think of an AI agent like a human. The large language model like GPT, Claude, or Gemini is the brain. But just like humans need hands to do things, AI agents need tools to act. For example, a developer uses coding tools, a marketer uses tools for writing and campaigns, and an operations manager uses tools to manage inventory or systems. Now, instead of building one massive agent with hundreds of tools, it's much more effective to build a team of specialized agents, just like in a real company. Each agent is focused on a specific role and only uses the tools needed for that job. Then we add an orchestrator agent that delegates tasks based on context. That way, the system stays organized, efficient, and more scalable, just like a well-run team. So yeah, today's AI agents are just getting started. The pace of change is wild, new models and techniques keep dropping, and it's clear we haven't hit any kind of ceiling yet. Every few months, things just keep getting better, and as AI agents keep evolving, they'll take on even bigger roles, which is why learning how to build and manage them now is so important. The fact that you are even watching this already puts you ahead of the game. Alright, in the next chapter, I'll walk you through how to actually build effective AI agents in practice. And this is probably the most important part of the video because it will help you understand the key patterns that exist today for building agentic solutions. A lot of what I'm explaining here is based on an excellent blog post by Anthropic, so definitely check out the original if you want to go deeper. I've already referenced it earlier in this video when we talked about the difference between workflows and agents. So once again, and I'm quoting here, workflows are systems where LLMs and tools are orchestrated through predefined code paths. Agents, on the other hand, are systems where LLMs dynamically direct their own processes and tool usage, maintaining control over how they accomplish tasks. In the blog post, Anthropic breaks down the most common patterns used in agentic systems. They outline three main layers: building blocks, workflows, and agents. Each layer adds more complexity and autonomy, and understanding how they fit together is key to designing effective systems. So let's go through them one by one. The basic building block of agentic systems is an LLM enhanced with augmentations such as retrieval, tools, and memory. Think of retrieval as giving your AI access to info it doesn't already know by default. Instead of relying only on what the model was trained on, it can pull in real-time data from documents, databases, or vector stores and use it in the moment. Let's say you have a product FAQ, frequently asked questions. So instead of hard coding all the answers, the AI can just fetch the refund policy, for example, from your knowledge base whenever someone asks. This way, it doesn't have to memorize everything, and it just grabs what it needs when it needs it. Tools are like giving your AI extra superpowers. Beyond just chatting, you can let it call APIs, or run code, or check your calendar, or even do a live web search. For example, if the AI needs to calculate something, it can use a calculator tool. If it needs fresh, up-to-date info, it can trigger a web search tool. Each tool has a clear input-output interface, kind of like plugging in a specific skill, and the AI decides when to use it. This is what really starts making things feel agentic. Memory helps your AI remember what's already been said or done. In a simple setup, that might be just the last few messages. In a more advanced system, it could include all past conversations, key decisions, or user preferences. So, if you mentioned Mark earlier, the AI won't keep asking, "Who is Mark again?" No, it just remembers. Over time, you can even build a long-term memory so the AI starts to feel more personalized, like, it actually knows you. Most of the tutorials that you can find on YouTube, including mine, that teach you how to build AI agents would essentially be what we call here a building block, right? An LLM empowered with some additional augmentations such as retrieval, tools, and memory. Now, one of the simplest workflow patterns is the prompt chaining workflow. Prompt chaining breaks down a task into a sequence of steps where each LLM call processes the output of the previous one. This lets you break a complex goal into smaller, easier steps, which usually leads to better results at each stage. You can also add checkpoints or gates along the way to make sure everything looks good before moving forward. So if something passes the check, you move to the next step. If it doesn't, the agent can take a different path, like triggering a fallback or exiting the flow. And this way, small errors don't spiral into bigger ones. And in real life, this workflow works best when your task can be naturally split into clear, well-defined steps, okay? You're basically trading a bit more time per request for better accuracy overall, since each LLM call is focused on one small part of the problem. Anthropic gives a couple of great examples for the use of this workflow pattern, like generating marketing copy in one language as the first step, then translating it into another as the second one, or outlining a document first, then checking if the structure looks good, and then writing the document based on the outline. The next workflow type is the routing workflow. It is like sorting the incoming tasks into different bins so that each one gets handled the right way. Instead of treating every request the same, you first figure out what type of request it is. Like if it was a workflow for an e-commerce store, for example, it would first classify if it was a shipping question versus a return request, and then send it to the right workflow or prompt. And usually you'd use routing when you're dealing with different types of inputs and each need their own kind of handling. Let's say you've got a customer support inbox full of all kinds of emails, general questions, refund requests, technical issues, you name it. With a routing step in place, you can automatically send each type of message to the right workflow. Maybe general FAQs go to a basic AI node, refunds would go to a more specialized one, and tech support gets routed to a more hands-on diagnostic flow. Another great use case is optimizing for cost and speed. You can route simple or common queries to a smaller, faster model like GPT-4o Mini or Claude 3.5 Haiku, and send like more complex queries to a stronger model like GPT-4o or Claude 3.7 Sonnet. That way, you're only using the heavy-duty model when it actually makes sense. And this is what we use a lot for our projects as an agency. All right, the next workflow pattern is the parallelization workflow. Parallelization is all about running multiple LLM calls side by side, either to handle different parts of a task or to approach the same task in a few different ways at once. There are two main ways to do this: sectioning and voting. With sectioning, you split a big task into smaller, independent subtasks, and each one gets its own LLM call. It's like dividing a group project, right? One person handles research, another one does the slides, someone else writes the script. It kind of speeds things up and keeps each part focused. It's also useful for adding guardrails. For example, one LLM could handle user queries, while another filters for inappropriate content. So we are not mixing roles in a single call. With voting, you have multiple LLMs do the same task in parallel and then compare the results. Think of it like getting 3 opinions on the same piece of code. If 2 out of 3 agree, you go with that answer, right? This helps boost confidence and reliability, especially if you're not sure that one LLM will get it right every time. So to sum up, you'd want to use parallelization workflow when you want to speed things up by splitting tasks and running them at the same time, or you need multiple perspectives to boost accuracy and quality. And a great example is evaluating AI-generated content across different criteria like correctness, style, and safety by having different nodes handle each check in parallel and then combining the feedback in the end. Next one is the Orchestrator-Workers workflow. In the Orchestrator-Workers workflow, a central LLM dynamically breaks down tasks, delegates them to worker LLMs, and then synthesizes their results. This pattern uses a central LLM, the orchestrator, to break down a big task into smaller pieces and delegate each one to separate worker LLMs. Think of it like a project manager assigning tasks to different team members, then pulling all the results together into one final output. It's basically a mix of routing and parallelization, the two patterns that we just discussed, right? Like routing, the orchestrator decides what needs to happen and where each piece should go. And like parallelization, it can run multiple LLM calls at the same time, but also it can handle tasks in sequence if one depends on another. So it's even more flexible, and this setup works especially well for open-ended, unpredictable tasks like making multiple code changes when you don't really know how many files need editing. The orchestrator figures it out on the fly, spins up as many worker LLM calls as needed, and then pulls all of it back together without you having to hard code every possible path. Next one is the Evaluator-Optimizer workflow. This is when one LLM call generates a response while another provides evaluation and feedback in a loop. So in this setup, one LLM generates an initial output like a draft or proposed solution, and then a second LLM, or the same one but in a different mode, reviews or critiques it. And you repeat the process in a loop until the result meets a certain standard. Think of it like a writer and editor working together. The writer drafts, the editor gives feedback, and each round becomes better and more refined. You would use this pattern when A, you have clear criteria for what a good output looks like, and B, when iterative improvement adds value with each pass. For example, in literary translation, the first version might capture the meaning, right? And the second pass improves nuance or tone. Or another example, for a complex search task, the optimizer could refine the results, and the evaluator decides whether another round is needed to dig deeper. Okay, and finally, we've got agents. Agents have become a lot more practical as LLMs get better at understanding complex tasks, planning steps, using tools, and recovering from mistakes. Usually an agent kicks off from a single user command or a back and forth conversation, and once it understands its goal, it starts acting on its own, calling APIs, running code, using different tools, checking results, and deciding what to do next based on what it sees. Sometimes it might pause to ask for human input, especially if it hits a blocker or some clarification is required, but the idea is that it handles most of the process independently. One important piece here is getting feedback from the real world, what Anthropic calls ground truth. Whether that's reading code output, API responses, or some other results, the agent needs to know whether each step worked. That's why most agent setups follow a simple loop. Take action, check the results, decide the next step. Of course, to keep things under control, you can also set stopping conditions like a maximum number of steps or timeouts, just in case the agent starts looping without making progress, right? And even though agents can handle pretty complex tasks, they are often built with just a few basic components: an LLM to reason and plan, a set of tools it can use, and a feedback loop to guide what happens next. So it is crucial to design your toolset clearly with clean interface, good documentation, so the agent knows exactly how to use them. Because if the agent doesn't understand how to call a tool or how to interpret its output, the whole loop just breaks down. So clear structure is what makes everything click. Now, when to use agents? Usually, agents really shine in open-ended tasks where you can't predict exactly how many steps are needed, or where it doesn't make sense to hard code every possible path. If your task involves a lot of back and forth, decision-making, or pivoting, like solving a tricky problem or making multi-step code changes, agents are a great fit. That said, this level of autonomy comes with trade-offs, as everything in life, right? Things like higher cost, slower response time, and a greater chance for errors to stack up. So if you have to use this pattern, you'll want to test everything carefully in a sandbox and set some kind of guardrails to make sure the agent doesn't go off the rails. And one of the practical examples would be a computer use demo by Anthropic. You might remember that some time ago Anthropic showcased an agent that navigates a computer environment on its own to get things done. It's a great proof of concept for how an LLM can call external tools in a loop until it completes a given job. So to wrap it up, agents are incredibly powerful, especially when you need flexibility and advanced problem solving, but making them truly reliable, especially at scale when many people start using them, is still a huge challenge. Even major players like Apple and Amazon are feeling the pain. Back in January, Apple had to pull back Apple Intelligence because the AI was hallucinating in its summarization feature, and Amazon's still having a tough time getting solid AI features into Alexa for the same reason: unreliable outputs. The bottom line, building reliable AI agents is hard, even for the biggest companies in the world. So it's really important to carefully evaluate the problem and understand when it makes sense to use agents and when it doesn't. As Anthropic points out a few times in their blog post, and I'm quoting here, when building applications with LLMs, we recommend finding the simplest solution possible and only increasing complexity when needed. This might mean not building agentic systems at all. Now, there are different ways to solve the same problem depending on your skill set, right? If you don't have any coding experience, you can use a workflow builder like n8n, which we'll cover in this video. If you do have coding experience, you might prefer using something like Python or JavaScript to build things from scratch. At the end of the day, the tool you choose doesn't matter that much, right? It's just a means to solve the problem. And you can build solid, reliable systems with either approach. What really matters is the underlying patterns you use to manage the logic of your system and how your data flows through it. So here's the thing. Success in LLM space isn't about building the most sophisticated system. It's about building the right system for your specific needs. And that's why it's so important to master all these workflow patterns we covered in this chapter. And as part of our AI fellowship program, we are announcing a major update. We've broken down every one of these patterns into step-by-step build examples that you can follow. We are also releasing a real case study from a project we sold for $10,000, starting from a recording of my actual sales call to presenting the proposal, and finally the full build using one of the workflow patterns we just discussed. If you're planning to build and sell AI agentic solutions, the AIF program is designed to equip you with everything you need. You'll learn how to evaluate the problem, and we just discussed, this is super important, then how to pick the most reliable solution and how to build and deliver it. But that's not all. We launched the program just 3 months ago and already have over 100 satisfied students, and based on all the feedback, we've made major upgrades. In addition to the in-depth technical and business modules, you now get community support inside a private Discord server and weekly Q&A sessions with me and my CTO Nick, who by the way has over 15 years of software development experience. And these sessions are where we help you troubleshoot your projects, refine your go-to-market strategy, and solve whatever bottlenecks you are facing. We've also added a premium tier, which includes one-on-one coaching sessions and hands-on support from me and my team. The goal is simple. We are here to guide you all the way until you land your first client, and after that as well. So feel free to check out all the details on our website. The link is in the video description. And just a quick note, you don't need any coding background to get started. The program includes a technical crash course to help you fill in those gaps and confidently build agentic systems. Alright, in this part, we are going to cover n8n, the platform I'll be using to build our agentic workflows. So what exactly is n8n? n8n is an open source, low-code automation tool similar to make.com, for example, and it basically lets you connect different apps and services, usually through their APIs, without writing code. There is a great beginner course on n8n's YouTube channel where they walk through the entire interface and explain what every button does. So feel free to check it out. You'll get comfortable with the tool in no time. I'll just give you a quick overview and then we'll move on to the actual build. So there are 3 core concepts in n8n: workflow, nodes, and execution. A workflow is the full automation you are putting together. Nodes are the individual steps, okay? Like pulling data, changing it, or sending it somewhere else. And the execution just means that the workflow is running and going through each step in real time. It is all built around a visual workflow editor. You create automations by dragging and dropping nodes, which are again the building blocks of every workflow in n8n. And there are different types of nodes, each representing a step or action. They can be categorized into 4 main types. So every workflow starts with a trigger node. That's what kicks things off. It could be something like getting a new email or receiving a webhook. Then you've got data transformation nodes, which help clean up or format your data before passing it along. So for example, turning messy text into something more structured. Then logic nodes, they are for decision making. Basically, you can say, if this happens, go here, otherwise go there. And finally, action nodes. Action nodes are the ones that actually do something, like sending an email, updating a database, or calling an external API. n8n comes with over 300 built-in integrations for most of the tools that you're probably already using, like Google Apps, Microsoft Apps, Slack, X, Airtable, you name it. If there is no pre-built integration, no problem, you can still connect almost any tool using APIs, webhooks, or custom code. So if you're working with a very niche CRM or even with something that was built in-house, you can still create a custom integration as long as there are accessible API endpoints. And we are going to cover how to create these custom API integrations later in this video, so stay tuned. And since n8n is open source, there is a huge community constantly adding new features, fixing bugs, and building extra nodes for popular services. So because of this, it just keeps getting better over time. And of course, you can also hook it up with LLMs, vector databases, or your own custom code to build full-on agentic workflows. I assume you are familiar with tools like Zapier or Make. I've made a bunch of videos on them, so feel free to check those out if you want a deeper breakdown. The biggest advantage of n8n over tools like Zapier and Make is the ability to self-host it, giving you full control over your data, scalability, and costs. So there are 3 situations when n8n is the better choice. First, high-volume workflows. If you're running a ton of tasks, like thousands or millions of tasks, self-hosting n8n can save you a lot of money compared to paying per task on other platforms. Second, custom or advanced logic. If your workflows go beyond step-by-step automation, like calling AI models or using custom APIs or building complex branching logic, n8n gives you way more flexibility with their custom nodes. And third, privacy and full control. If you want to host everything yourself, keep full control over your data, or tweak how the platform works, n8n's open source setup gives you all that, something that most SaaS tools don't. All right, now let's jump to the n8n's interface. This is how the workflow editor looks like. Every workflow always starts with a trigger node, right? So if you click on this Add First Step button, you will see a list of available triggers. It can be triggered manually on app event, for example, if you receive a message in Telegram, on webhook call, like if you receive an HTTP request. It can be also executed by another workflow, and this is when it becomes really powerful. For now, let's just click trigger manually. And now when you click test workflow, your workflow will be triggered. Let's just give it a try. Test workflow, there is no errors. It was executed successfully. Nice. Now, in order to add another node, you can either click this plus button or just press tab on your keyboard, and you will see this list of nodes. Let's just search for Google Sheets, for example. And let's create sheet here. Now, this is the view of the node. For now, let's just leave it. I just wanted to show you that you can also have a couple of triggers at the same time. So for example, we have our first trigger here, but we can also add another trigger. Let's search for Google. Let's search for Gmail, for Gmail. And now if you scroll down, you will see that you can also use Gmail as a trigger on message received. So let's select this one. Now we have 2 triggers. We can connect it to our next node. And now the workflow can be triggered either by you pressing this test workflow button or when you receive an email. Now, if you double click on a node, you will open its settings. So here, first of all, on the left, we can see the previous node, and on the right, we would see the next node. Let's quickly add something like filter. This is a logic node, right? Right. So let's double click on Google Sheets node. Now on the left, we have Gmail. On the right, we have filter. So you can just switch between nodes by clicking on them here. Here, you will see parameters. That's the main setting window for a particular node. You can also see settings. Settings would be the same for all nodes. It's a universal view here. So let's just skip it for now. When you go to parameters, you can basically set up everything. Here you can create new credential to connect with your Google Sheets, with your Google account. And when you do it once, you will be able to use the same credentials for creating new workflows, new nodes. So it will be saved and stored in your n8n account, and you don't have to establish the connection every time. Every node which you can connect with some kind of third-party services or apps would have this docs button. Very convenient. You just click on it, and it is always very well explained, step by step, what needs to be done in order to connect your service. Let's just click Create New Credential. In this case, you can just select this Auth 2 and sign in with your Google account. Let me sign in quickly, and connection is successful. So now if I go back, it is done, it is saved, and my Google Sheets account is connected. Then you can basically manipulate what needs to be done here. So which operation create? We need to create a new sheet. From document, you can just select the document from your Google account, let's say Gantt chart here. And now the cool feature is that you can test each node individually. So you don't have to trigger the whole workflow. You can just test step separately. So if I click test step, it is now triggered. And now on the left-hand side, I can see all the input, what went to this node. On the right-hand side, I can see all the output. The output can be viewed in the form of schema, JSON, or table. I personally prefer table. So if you move this a little bit to the left, you can have more space here and just clearly check what your output is for this particular node. Now just click on this blank space here and you'll exit your node settings view. At the top, you're going to see two tabs, editor and executions. If you go to executions, you will see all the executions of this workflow. So this is a snapshot of that execution. And if you had an error like here, you will be able to go back to that particular execution and check what the error was. So in my case, it was parameter document is required, credentials for Google Sheets are not set. So this way you can troubleshoot what was wrong and fix your errors. Let's go back to the editor. I think that's pretty much it for the editor view. We are going to dive a bit deeper when building our workflows. One more thing to say here is that do not forget to activate your workflow when you need to push it to production. If you go back to the overview, you will see also three tabs here at the top, the list of all your existing workflows. You can see which ones are active. You can see which ones are inactive. You can also disable them here. Then we have credentials tab. So once you establish a connection with a third-party service or app, as I said, it will be stored and you will be able to check it here. And then when you need to use again Google Sheets node in a different workflow or in the same workflow but different node, your credential will be already available, so you don't have to establish the connection every time. And then we also can check the executions here, and this tab, it will include all the executions for all the workflows, while the previous one only the executions for that particular workflow. So here you can see I can double click on this error, on this execution, and it will take me to it should take me to the workflow again. So it took me to the workflow, to the executions tab. Here I can see what the error was, and this way I can brainstorm. And a few more things on the left-hand side, you can see templates. So these are the templates created by the community, by other people. You can search for them by industry or just using some keywords. It is very convenient to just learn. You can always download the template and just, learn through practice, try to replicate, try to build the same workflows. And also, if you go to help and then to documentation, n8n has a great documentation prepared. So basically, anything that you need to get done should be described here. And apart from this documentation where you need to search for the data yourself, you can always use the AI assistant. I like using it a lot. So let me go to my workflow. Then I go to my node. And here, for example, I can click on this Ask Assistant button, and I can ask it, like, how do I create a new sheet? And then it will just, obviously it is an AI, it will go through the documentations instead of me, and it will give me the answer based on all the data it can gather, like from the docs, from the community, from the forum. And usually it is very structured. It works really well. So here, to create a new sheet in Google Sheets using the n8n Google Sheets node, you need blah, 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 and then very clear steps that I need to take in order to achieve my goal. So authentication, resource, operation, document ID, title, options, etc. And you can just communicate with it as with a chatbot, which is powered by AI and by the n8n's community forum, documentations, and maybe something else. Okay, that's pretty much for the overview of this interface. Now let's build the first workflow together. So if you remember from the previous part of the video, when we discussed different workflow patterns, we had a building block, we had different workflows, and we had an agent. So this is a basic building block. It is an LLM right here, enhanced with augmentations such as retrieval, tools, and memory, right? Now I'm going to build the same in n8n, but it will be broken down into two builds. The first one will have an LLM with tools and memory, and the second one will be an LLM with retrieval. It will be an LLM enhanced with RAG capabilities. But for now, let's start with tools and memory. Now, this is exactly what we are going to do in n8n. So we're going to have some input and output. Then this big node is called AI agent node. It is called so by n8n. The first thing to do is to connect it to an LLM, right? Because this is the brain of the whole system. In our case, it is going to be OpenAI's GPT model. We also need to provide it with some instructions, other words, system prompt. Then we are going to employ it with memory. Memory exists for context awareness, right? So when you message it, it remembers the previous interactions. It remembers the previous messages, previous requests, and it has context about your interaction. And then we are going to enhance it with some tools. In our case, I'm going to use Airtable. So it will be able to pull some contact details from my table in Airtable. And then I'm also going to integrate it with Gmail, so that it is able to send emails using Gmail. So that's pretty much it. And this is how it is going to look like in our n8n editor. So pretty much the same input. Then we have this AI agent node. It is going to be connected to OpenAI's chat model. It is going to be employed with simple memory. And then I'll integrate it with Airtable to connect my contact database. And then I will connect it to Gmail for it to be able to send emails. Now we are back to my n8n account. Let's click Create Workflow, and we're going to start from scratch. I'm going to click on this Add First Step button, and as a trigger, I'd like to select on chat message. Let's save it. Now, whenever I start chatting with it, I can just click Open Chat directly here in n8n. It will trigger my workflow. Let's add another node. Let's just search for AI agent. Now, I'm not going to change anything here in the parameters of my AI agent node. It is going to process the user message that I write in our chat. So I'll just click here. And now let's test it out. We haven't added any brain, any chat model here. Let's just open the chat and ask, hi. Now we get an error. A chat model subnode must be connected and enabled. All right, so let's connect it to a chat model. I'm going to search for OpenAI chat model. Now to set it up, you just need to connect it with your OpenAI account. So let's click Create New Credential. You just need to go to your OpenAI developer platform, create new secret key. Just name it somehow, n8n demo key, create secret key, and you'll get your API key from your OpenAI account. Click copy, go back to your n8n editor and paste it here. Click save, and that's pretty much it. Connection tested successfully. Let's close it. All right, here you can select the LLM that you want to use. In my case, GPT-4o is good. It is very flexible. Pretty much all the available models are here. Okay, let's save it. Let's test it again. Let's type hi. So this time it replied, hello, how can I assist you? Nice. Now let's tell it that, hi, my name is Bogdan. All right, hello Bogdan, how can I assist you today? Let's ask it, what is my name? And it says, I'm sorry, but I don't have access to personal information about you. So it doesn't have any memory. It doesn't remember this previous message. So now I'm going to add a memory node. Let's click plus. Let's just select simple memory. I'm going to leave this unchanged here. Context window length is how many past interactions the model receives as context. So how many messages it remembers from before. Session ID. So basically, if you go to AI agent node, you will see that there is session ID as an input here. So every session has its ID, and our memory node is going to process it from previous nodes. So everything makes sense. I'm going to keep it like this. And now let's open chat again. And let's ask it again. So my name is Bogdan. Now you can see it used simple memory, so you can always open this window and check the logs of your execution. So here, first it used simple memory node, and here you can see the action is load memory variables. So it loaded the memory to understand if it has any information on the question. Then there was the processing by LLM. And then again, simple memory to save context from this conversation, from this session. And now, if I ask it again, what is my name, it should be able to answer. Let's see. Your name is Bogdan. How can I help you further? All right, so now it has the brain, it has memory, it understands the context. Let's add some tools. The first tool we are going to add is Gmail. Let's go to Gmail. First of all, you need to establish the connection with your Gmail account. So let's click Create New Credential. In my case, you can just sign in with Google and it will be done automatically. Let me quickly do this. And connection is successful. Okay, let's go back to n8n. Account connected. Cool, let's close it. Again, if you don't have this automation, you can always go to the docs and it will be described step by step how to establish connections. Now let's set up the parameters for this node. So the operation should remain send because I want to send emails. What I really need to set up here is to subject and message. So the recipient. Previously, I would have to type something like from AI and then maybe something like recipient here. And if I left it like this, it would use AI to figure out who needs to be the recipient of this message. But now n8n implemented this beautiful button here. Let the model define this parameter. So you don't need to understand how to use these formulas. You just click this button and this parameter will be defined automatically by the model. So based on your conversation, the model will define who is going to be the recipient. The model can define the subject for this email and also the message as well if you want. And now it is very convenient because you really don't have to understand any coding. Just click these three buttons and the recipient, the subject, the message will be defined by the model. Also for the email type, I would change it from HTML to text. This is pretty much it. It is set. Let's test it out. So open chat and let's ask it, please send an email to Bogdan to my email. I'll just type it here, bogdan@gmail.com, asking for the price of oranges. All right, let's send it out. So it has been processed. Again, you can see all the logs here. So simple memory node first, then processing by LLM, then Gmail tool was called, then again LLM, and then simple memory again to save context from this session. So this is the email I received. The subject generated by LLM was request for price information. Sounds good. Hello, I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to inquire about the current price of oranges. Could you please provide the pricing details? Thank you in advance for your assistance. Best regards, Bogdan. And then there is this email was sent automatically with n8n. So you don't need to do anything about it. You can remove it just by going back to your Gmail node. And here, if you scroll down, you will see options. Click Add Option and then select Append n8n attribution and just disable it. And this way, let's click Save. This way, if we send the email again, let's just do it again. the email should be without that message at the end. I'm going to refresh this. So I received another email, and now there is nothing after my signature. Now, if we look at this here, we already connected this to the brain. We already added memory and one tool, Gmail. But there is no instructions. There is no system prompt, right? That's why this email is that generic. So let's go back to my editor, and we are going to provide it with some instructions explaining what it should do and how it should do it. Once you're back to your AI agent node, just click Add Option and then select System Message. So this is where you can enter your prompt. In my case, by default, it is "You are a helpful assistant," but we can elaborate, we can make it a bit better. So first of all, I'd like to go back to my editor and rename this Gmail node. I'm going to name it Send Email, just to make sure it is clear, rename. Now I'm going to take a screenshot of my build here, and I will use my custom GPT that I've built to generate prompts for n8n. So I'm going to say, you are an agent that can send emails using a tool. Send email. You are a friendly assistant. So by the way, you can use this custom GPT as well. It will be available in my resource hub. All you need to do is go to my free school community, then navigate to YouTube resources tab, find the relevant video, and all the resources, including this custom GPT for generating prompts, as well as all the templates from the workflows we are building today. All of them will be attached there. You can just download them and use them for free. All right, so let's send this out. I like to attach screenshots to kind of give it better idea what my build is about. And it is going to return a well-structured prompt. The prompt is already in Markdown format. So you're an AI agent designed to assist users by sending emails using Send Email tool. Well-designed. Let's just copy it here, go back to my editor, go back to my AI agent node, and I'm going to paste it here. So if I click expression, I will be able to open it like full screen here. And this is my prompt. Looks good. Let's save it. And now let's just open the chat again. Let's ask it to send the email once again and see if it's any different. Shouldn't be too different, but maybe it will be a bit more friendly because we updated our system prompt. So this is the message. I hope this message finds you well. Could you please provide me with the current price of oranges at your earliest convenience? Okay, so just to make it clear, if you go back to this AI agent node, we have system message and we have user message. System message is the instructions. It tells it how to act, okay? User message is basically what it has to process. So if you're chatting with ChatGPT, every message you send is your user message. And in this case, user message will be pulled from the previous node, and previous node is our chat, is our trigger node. So it all makes sense. I hope it's clear. So there is no confusion between system message and user message. Now, so far I had to write the whole email in order to identify the recipient, right? I had to type bogdansaranchuk@gmail.com. It is not very convenient. So I want to connect it to a database, and I want to be able to just tell it, send an email to Bogdan, and it will be able to figure out who Bogdan is and pull the data, pull the email address from my database. As a database, I'm going to use Airtable. So this is just a sample table with some contact details. Let's connect it to our workflow. So I'm going to press this plus button to connect another tool, Airtable tool. Now let's rename it. Let's name it ContactDB. I have already my credentials saved because I established the connection previously. For you, if you need to integrate it with Airtable for the first time, just go to the docs. It will be described precisely how to do it. Now let's set up the parameters for Airtable node. First of all, operation, I want to change it from get to search. It will search for specific records or list all. Now I can just select the relevant database, the relevant base from the list below, So it's n8n demo and then table, imported table. So let's quickly check it out in Airtable. Here we have the name of the base, n8n demo, and here we have the name of the table, imported table. All right, let's go back to my editor. I'm not going to change anything here. I don't need to apply any formulas for filtering. I want to return all records. So let's just save. Now, if you remember, when we created our prompt, we did not mention any contact DB tools. So let's just quickly refine it. I'm going to take another screenshot. I'm going to ask my custom GPT to refine the prompt, adding contact DB tool. It should use it to retrieve contact details such as emails. All right, it is going to return the refined prompt. All right, I'm going to copy it and just paste it back within my AI agent node as a system message here. All right, let's close it, let's save. And now let's test it again. So I'm going to open the chat and ask it to send an email to Lara asking about what the weather in New York. All right, send it out. All right, no errors, that's good. By the way, in my sample table, Lara is the first name of this record here, and then I've got my email to actually be able to check the email, and I received another email. So this is the subject, quick question about the weather. Hi Lara, I hope you're doing well. I was just wondering how the weather is in New York. Now you see, this time there is a placeholder, your name. Before that, I had Bogdan, right? I had a proper signature. This was because I told it, you remember I told it my name is Bogdan, what is my name, when we were testing memory, and it remembered that my name was Bogdan, and it used it as a signature for my emails. After that, I refreshed the session ID here, so it forgot all the information from that session. So to be safe, you don't need to just tell it within one session what your name is. It is better to go back to AI agent, to this system prompt. Let's enlarge it here. And just in my final notes, I'll say always sign my emails as Bogdan. All right, let's close it, save. And now let's just resend the same. Okay, let's refresh my Gmail. I received another email. Now it is signed as Bogdan, whether in New York, the same email, more or less, and then signed with my name. Great. Let's check out the logs quickly. So it went through simple memory, then OpenAI chat model, then it retrieved the records from my table, and you can check what was retrieved here. Then it sent email using Gmail and updated the memory again. All good. Also, if you go to the particular node, let's see how the output looks here. So we have table, this is the response, one record, Samantha, and some email address, another record, another record. So you can check all of that in the output. All right, I think that's it for this basic workflow. Remember, you can always use different triggers. So instead of when chat message received, you can delete it, add first step, search for Telegram, for example. Here you can select on message. You need to add your credentials and establish the connections, obviously. But then once it is done, whenever you send a message in Telegram, like send an email to Brian, considering that Brian is in your database, it will be able to retrieve Brian's email address and send an email. So that's pretty much it. Now we're going to build a simple AI with RAG capabilities. Before building the system itself, I want to quickly remind you what RAG and vector databases are. I know you are familiar with these terms, but just in case it is not 100% clear for you, I'll take a few minutes to break it down. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's a powerful technique that combines two things, retrieval and generation. The first step is retrieval. So instead of the AI guessing answers based on what it was trained on, it goes out and retrieves information from external sources. That could be documents, websites, or like in our case, a vector database such as Pinecone. Once it finds the relevant info, the second step is generation. So the AI then uses what it just pulled in to craft a human-readable response, and instead of relying on its memory, it's using fresh, real data to give you a much more reliable answer. The most obvious and common example we all run into is when, let's say, you're building an AI assistant for your company and it needs to answer questions about internal policies. Well, you definitely don't want it making stuff up based on its training data. Instead, with RAG, the assistant can pull the most up-to-date version of your policies directly from your system and then use that to answer questions. Now, to make RAG work, you need a way to store and retrieve information efficiently. And that's where vector databases come in. In simple terms, a vector database stores data as vectors, which are just numbers that represent meanings, okay? These vectors live in a multidimensional space, which helps the AI find related ideas, even if the wording is different. For example, if you search for hungry, the system might also surface results like food, apple, or watermelon. That's because it's not just matching exact words, it's matching meaning. Visually, imagine a 3D space like this on the slide, where related concepts live together. So hungry, food, and apple are in one cluster, while car and bicycle are off in a completely different area. So when the AI sees your question, it takes the right zone and pulls the most relevant information, even if the wording is different. So here's how vector databases work with RAG. First, the system converts your documents into vectors and stores them in the vector database. And when I say the system converts your documents into vectors, that conversion process is called embedding. All right, embedding. So embedding means turning raw text into numerical vector representations. These vectors are then stored in the vector database for later retrieval. Now, when a user asks a question, the AI turns the query into a vector as well. It then searches the database for similar vectors, like basically it looks for the closest match, right? Once it finds the most relevant content, it retrieves that info, and finally, the model uses it to generate a response. I hope the theoretical part is clear. Now, how do you actually get the data into a vector database? Let's break it down with our workflow in n8n, which we're going to build step by step in a moment, but this is how it actually works. So let's say you have some files in Google Drive. We are going to build a workflow that, once triggered, it is going to search for a specific file in your Google Drive. Then during the next step here, it is going to load the information. So the data gets pulled in and it can be in JSON, text, or binary format. Then before doing the embeddings, it is going to split the text into chunks. So the idea is that it takes your big text and splits it into smaller, more manageable chunks of text, and that way it is much easier for the LLM to process it and do the embeddings. And once it is split into chunks, we are going to use OpenAI to do the embeddings, to embed that text into vectors, so convert text into vectors. And once the embeddings are generated, we will send those to Pinecone Vector Store, and that's pretty much it. Your vector database is ready to go, and your system, your RAG-powered system, will be able to retrieve accurate and up-to-date information for generating answers. All right, I've got this sample document. This is a knowledge base for an imaginary Wellspring family clinic. It contains some data, some information about this clinic, some FAQs, etc. It is currently stored in my Google Drive. So we are going to pull this document from Google Drive and then through n8n send it to Pinecone Vector Store. So you need to create an account with Pinecone. It is free to start. You just go to pinecone.io. To set it up, all you need to do is just go to database, then to indexes, and create index. Here you can name it as you wish, n8n demo sample, something like that. You can leave everything unchanged. The only thing I need to change here is the configuration for my embedding. So I want to use OpenAI for that. So I'm going to select text embedding 3, probably this one, text embedding 3 small. So this is the most cost-effective OpenAI embedding model. Just remember that we selected text embedding 3 small because we are going to use it later in n8n. Create index, and that's it. Once it's created, you will see that it is empty. There is no namespaces, no nothing. Namespaces, just to quickly explain it, this is basically when you when you have an internal policy, when you have an external instruction, something like that. So you can direct the agent to like go to this index and then go to this namespace to retrieve the most relevant information. All right, this is pretty much it. Let's now go to n8n editor. As a first step, I'm going to select trigger manually. Now the next node will be Google Drive. Let's search for Drive. Google Drive. As you see, there are many actions here. Like the amount of pre-configured tools is really impressive. What we need to select is download file. I've got my credentials already established here. As always, you can use documentation to create new credential. You will have to, the only thing that you need to keep in mind, that you need to create your Google Cloud account like this one, and then from there you will copy and paste the client ID and client secret. But to make it actually work, make sure that within your Google Client account, if you go to APIs and services and then enabled APIs and services, you need to make sure that you enabled all the relevant API required for this to work. So for example, for this, I need Google Drive API or something like that. Yeah, Google Drive API. So I had to actually manually search for Google Drive API here. And then I enabled it by clicking this button, enable. Just something that's here. So you click enable and it will be active. Just something to keep in mind because it took me some time to figure it out. Now let's go back because I have it already established. The resource in my case will be file, the operation download. Now I can search for that sample clinic knowledge base. All right, I'll select this PDF. Okay, let's just keep it unchanged. Let's test step. All right, so I got some output. Let's view the document to make sure this is the document we need. So yeah, this is Wellspring Family Clinic. This is what we need. Now pay attention, the format for the data output is binary. If you look at JSON, it is empty, for example. So just something to keep in mind, the output here is binary. It is coming through as binary because later on we will have to select it while setting up our data loader node. Now let's add the next node. I'm going to search for vector store. So as I said, we are using Pinecone right now. But instead of that, you can use Supabase. We actually use Supabase for our projects at our agency. But for now, for this demo, let's go for Pinecone Vector Store. Here you can see there are 5 actions for a Pinecone Vector Store. The one that we want to use right now is add documents to Vector Store. Now we need to set it up. Again, you'll have to go through the connection process the first time, but then the credential will be stored and it will be automatically populated here, like in my case. But it is super easy. Let's just create new credentials. So you need to just get your API key similarly as with OpenAI. So just go to Pinecone. Here, go to API keys. Let's create API key. Let's call it n8n demo. Create key and just copy it. Go back to your workflow in n8n, paste that API key, save, and it should go green because connection tested successfully. Cool. So we have established our connection with Pinecone. Operation mode, insert documents. Yeah, let's keep it that way. Pinecone index, so the one we just created. n8n demo sample. And then options, and then let's create a namespace. Let's go to add option, select Pinecone namespace, and let's call it Wellspring Clinic. All right, now we are going to add 3 more nodes as here. The first one is to load the information. The second one is to split text into chunks, and then the embeddings by OpenAI to convert text into vectors and send it to Pinecone Vector Store. All right, so let's go to default data loader. Just click on it. And here, you remember when we went to Google Drive, here the output was binary. So now when configuring default data loader node, we need to change the type of data to binary. This way it is going to work. Okay, that's it. Nothing else needs to be changed here. Let's close it. Now let's add the text splitter node. just click this plus button and you'll see there are 3 available types of text splitters. So I'm not going to get too technical and discussing all of them. There are brief descriptions right here. If you are curious, you can just ask ChatGPT and it will break them down very specifically. But for now, we are going to use the second one, recursive character text splitter. It is also said that it is recommended for most use cases. So we are going to use this one. Chunk size 1000 is all right. So nothing to configure here. Let's just close it. And the last thing to do here is add embeddings by OpenAI. And you see, once I click on this plus button, I am already brought to the right selection of nodes. So it is already like pre-configured. You just click on this button and you have only a bunch of nodes to choose from, the ones that you need. This is so convenient. I mean, n8n, it is built by the Germans, I believe, and there is something in their UX, user experience, that is just, it clicks, it works. Anyway, right now we need to select embeddings by OpenAI. And here we need to select the model. You remember when creating our index in Pinecone, we selected the model text embedding 3 small. So exactly the same I'm going to select here. If I close it, it should be all set up. Let's click save. And now let's test the workflow. So it is going through Google Drive first, then it loads the data, then it splits it into chunks, then OpenAI does the embeddings, it converts text into vectors, and then it sends it to Pinecone Vector Store. So if we look at the output of Pinecone Vector Store, there are 10 items here, and here you can check it as well. Let's go to our Pinecone Vector Store. And now if we go to this index, we will see that there is a namespace created, Wellspring Clinic, and there are a number of records, 10, exactly the same as the number of items in our output from Pinecone Vector Store. So it works. Now we are going to create another workflow. So let me quickly show you. So this is the one that we just created. Now we are going to create a bit different one. Here we will be able to chat with that AI agent. It will have, again, the brain, the LLM by OpenAI, the memory to have the context of our conversation, and then we will add a tool which will be this whole workflow. So we are going to use this workflow as a tool for this AI agent, for this workflow. And this is a very powerful concept of n8n. So you can create a workflow once and then use it as a tool and reuse it many times for other workflows. All right, let's quickly go to n8n. Let's go back to my workflows, create a workflow. Add first step. In my case, it's going to be on chat message. All right, now we are going to add another node, which will be AI agent. All right, now we're going to add chat model, just as we did before. Let's search for OpenAI chat model. It is already connected. The model in use, I'll stick to GPT-4o mini. Let's close it. Memory, just click on this plus button, select simple memory as we did before. Context window length 5 is all right. Okay. And now what we're going to do is add a new tool. And here we will select call n8n workflow tool. So it is going to use another n8n workflow as a tool. But before doing that, let's go back to the list of my workflows and just give them proper names. I'm going to click save. So the one that we just created was, let's call it Wellspring Clinic Vector Store. And one more thing we want to do here is replace this first trigger node with another node that can allow this workflow to be triggered by another workflow in n8n. I hope it's not too confusing. So let's add first step. And here you can select when executed by another workflow. So it is going to run the flow when called by the execute workflow node from a different workflow. This is exactly what we want. Let's just select this one. Let's connect it to our Google Drive. Let's click save. Now I'm going to go back to my my second workflow. Let's rename it as well. Let's call it AI agent with RAG for Wellspring. All right, and now let's add that tool. I'm going to click this plus button. I'm gonna select call n8n workflow tool. Here I can name it as I wish. Let's just call it vector store, vector store. Then I need to describe, like instruct my agent when to call this tool. So let's say call this tool when you need to retrieve information about Wellspring Family Clinic. All right. And then just select the relevant sub workflow. In my case, it was Wellspring Clinic Vector Store. All right. Now it's all set. One more thing to do is to provide my AI agent with a system prompt, right? Right here. So let's take a quick screenshot of this workflow. Let's go back to my custom GPT where I can generate prompts, and let's ask it to create a prompt for an AI agent that is an assistant for Wellspring Family Clinic. It can use how was it called? Let's rename it. Let's rename this tool VectorDB. All right. It can use VectorDB tool to retrieve information about the clinic. All right, something like that. It is going to generate our prompt. All right, it has generated the prompt. Let's just copy it from here. Let's go back to my n8n workflow editor. Here I'll open the AI agent node, click add option, system message, and here I will show you the whole prompt. All right, so again, system message is our instructions to our AI agent, to LLM, how to act, what to do, which tools to call, etc. User message is the actual query that needs to be processed. All right. Now let's click save. And before we actually test it out, there is one more thing I need to change. So if I go to my previous sub workflow, here navigate to that trigger node. And you need to change the parameter here. So input data mode, by default, it would be defined using fields below. What I want to choose is accept all data. So use all incoming data from the parent workflow. This is what I want to use. Let's select it. Let's click save. Now let's go back to our AI agent workflow, open chat, and let's say hi. Okay, so it used, if you look at the logs here, it didn't use vector database because there was no need for that. It just used simple memory, OpenAI chat model, and then simple memory again to save context. Now let's ask something from our document. Maybe what is your phone number? Okay, it will have to use the vector database to retrieve it. So what is your phone number? Let's see if it works. Okay, now as you see, it used the vector database tool. Yeah, it retrieved the information. It's ending 4567. And yeah, it replied, our clinic's phone number is blah, 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 4567. If you have any further questions or need assistance, feel free to ask. So this is how we actually build an AI agent with RAG capabilities. It has memory. It is connected to OpenAI chat model. It will be much cheaper than whatever you can create with other no-code SaaS tools. And from here, you can just add 2 more nodes and connect the input to WhatsApp, then the output to WhatsApp, and you will have a ready-to-use customer support agent that can have all the information about your company using your knowledge base files. It will be able to retrieve them from the vector store in Pinecone. Actually, let's add the WhatsApp nodes right now, and we will test it out together. All right, so now we are going to connect this AI agent to WhatsApp. So the first thing we need to do is to replace this trigger node with a WhatsApp trigger node. So let's search for WhatsApp Business Cloud. Then under triggers, we need to select on messages. Select this one. We are going to connect it in a moment. Let's just connect it to AI agent node. And then for the output, let's also search for WhatsApp. Select WhatsApp Business Cloud. And what we needed to do to send message to our users. So let's click on send message node. We are going to set up this node in a moment as well. So now we have our WhatsApp trigger when we receive a message, then it will be processed by our AI agent, and then the output will be sent back to the user. Now we are going to configure these nodes. So first of all, you need to go to your developer's Facebook account. Once you sign up or sign in, just go to My Apps, and you need to create new app just to be safe, because Meta is weird. So once you go through these steps, you will have your app created like this one. Here, just go to app settings, then to basic, and we're gonna need app ID and app secret in order to connect it to our first trigger node. So let's double click on WhatsApp trigger. Let's go to our credentials, click create new credential. So the client ID is the one that is called app ID here. Just copy it and paste in n8n, and then client secret. This is what is called app secret here in Meta. Copy it and paste it back here. Click save, and connection tested successfully, so it works. Now let's go back to the parameters here. All right, so now trigger on messages is correct. All good. Let's go back to our Facebook app. Go to WhatsApp, then to API setup. All right, now on this page, just generate access token. We are going to need it later on to connect to the second WhatsApp node. You need to add a number, either your business verified number or a test number, doesn't matter for now. And I'll just enter my number here to be able to message with my test number. All right, so once it's done, you can send a test message to your number in WhatsApp. So let's do it. Let's see if I receive it. Okay, so I just received this hello world message. Now let's test this first step. Just before I do that, let's delete this node. We are going to configure it in a moment. In WhatsApp trigger node, just click test step. So it is now listening to an event. Let's go back to our WhatsApp here. And let's send hello. Here you can see there is output. It is successfully executed. And we get a ton of parameters here, a ton of values. So we're going to use these values to set up the following nodes. Now let's add our WhatsApp Business Cloud send message node, and let's configure it as well. So I'm gonna click create new credentials, and here we need access token and business account ID. If you navigate back to your Meta app, here under API setup, you're going to find access token. So generate access token if you haven't. If you have, just copy it, go back to n8n, paste it here, and then business account ID. You will find it right here, WhatsApp business account ID. Just copy it, go back to n8n, and paste it here. Click save, and connection tested successfully. Now let's set up all the parameters here. First of all, resource should be message, operation send, all correct. Sender phone number should be the one that you are going to use. So you can just click here and select it from the dropdown. Recipient's phone number, this value should be dynamically populated, right, based on the phone number of the WhatsApp user that is messaging with our system. And text body, this should be the output from our previous node, from the AI agent node, right? So now let's test the workflow again, and we are going to have some input data to use it to fill in this recipient's phone number and text body, okay? So for now, let's close this. Again, we are going to receive more errors, and we are going to fix them one by one in order to show you how to do that so that you could do it yourself. So let's just click save. I'm gonna click test workflow. It says, please resolve outstanding issues before you activate it. So apparently we have to input some data here. Let's just manually add, I'm gonna input my number here. So we will add manually these values as a placeholders, and then we're going to replace them with some parameters. Okay, let's close. Let's click test workflow again. So it is waiting for trigger event. Let's say, hi there, should be our trigger. All right, it executed the first node, and then we got an error, key parameter is empty. Let's open up our AI agent. So prompt user message is in red. It was okay to get it from the previous node when we had the trigger on chat message, but now we need to use the message from WhatsApp, right? So what we need to do is click here, select define below, and here we just need to find the body from the WhatsApp message. Right here, you see body is hi there. This is exactly what I just typed. So you can just drag this body and drop it right here. It will be replaced with this syntax, and this is what we need to use. So let's just test step. So now we got another error, error in subnode simple memory. So let's go to simple memory, and here we have a similar issue. So as a key, we had our session ID that was pulled from our trigger node, but now we changed our trigger node to WhatsApp trigger node, and we need to pull a new session ID from our WhatsApp trigger node. Unfortunately, we can't have any input data visible here, so I can just drag and drop. Let's just quickly find the WhatsApp ID, what it could be. It should be something unique. So WhatsApp ID right here. Now just go back to simple memory, and I'm going to provide you with the exact syntax that you need to paste here. Just copy it from the screen and paste it here. Allow me a second. All right, so this is our syntax that you should paste here. Let's open it up. So here where you see WhatsApp trigger, this is the name of your trigger node. And then you see WhatsApp ID. So this is our kind of session ID that our simple memory needs to process. Just keep it like that. Make sure that the phrase that you have here aligns with the name of your node here. And now it should work. Let's just test workflow again. Waiting for trigger event. So let's message it again. WhatsApp. All right, let's see. So it triggers our WhatsApp trigger node. Now everything has been executed successfully. Let's just configure this last node here. So here, the recipient's phone number, let's delete this placeholder. And what we need to do is drag and drop the message parameter. If you look at our WhatsApp trigger node, right, you scroll down and you will find messages from, and there you will find the number of our WhatsApp user that is contacting us. So just drag this from and drop it here. All right, the syntax will be populated. And then for text body, again, delete this one. And we need to paste here the output from our AI agent node, right? So this is our AI agent node. This is the output. Hello, I'm here to assist you with any questions or information you may need, blah, blah, blah. So just drag this output and drop it right here to our text body. Let's do it again. Okay, now the syntax is populated. So it's all good. Let's close it. Let's save it. Let's activate this workflow. Okay, now let's just chat with it and see how it replies. It should be set up correctly. So let's ask it something from our document, maybe what is your email, and let's see if it can retrieve that information. Let's go back to our WhatsApp. Let's ask what's your email, and it says you can contact Wellspring Family Clinic at our email. If you have any more questions or need assistance, feel free to ask. All right, so maybe let's ask it one more question, something like, what is your address, right? What's your address? And let's see what it replies. Wellspring Family Clinic is located at, and our sample address here. It aligns with what is included in my document. And if we go back here, we can see that it was executed successfully. Real quick, I tested it a few more times and realized that the best way to work with simple memory here is if you go to its settings, to its parameters, and here instead of WhatsApp ID, just go to the input side, then to mapping, find the WhatsApp trigger, and here before that we used WhatsApp ID parameter, but this is going to be the same number all the time if you're chatting with the same user. Instead, let's use the message ID, right? So under messages, you will see ID, just drag it and drop here under the key. And this way it will be more reliable. Just close it, save it again. Let's ask it one more question like, what are your payment options, right? What are your payment options. And it replied, we offer several options: cash, credit card, checks, cash, credit card, checks. So exactly the same as in our document. So this way it will be more reliable. Make sure to use just ID instead of WAID. So this is pretty much how you can quickly create an AI agentic workflow that will be capable of using tools, memory, and retrieval. We also connected it to WhatsApp, like in 10 minutes probably. Now I'm going to prepare more videos with more advanced builds. I'm going to create like team of AI agents, etc. So first of all, subscribe to stay tuned and not miss out. And second of all, please help me out and write in the comment section which kind of builds you'd like to see, which kind of agentic solutions you'd like me to build. I'm going to have my assistant analyze all the comments and the most popular suggestions will be considered, and I'll prepare the dedicated tutorials. All right, in this chapter, we are diving into APIs, HTTP requests, and webhooks. And this is really important if you want to go beyond the default n8n integrations. Now, I've been running my AI agency for over a year, and here's what I've seen over and over again. Most business owners can set up basic automations on their own, connecting stuff like Google Sheets, Airtable, Slack, the usual pre-configured tools. But the moment they need to integrate something custom, like connecting to their internal business systems or a niche CRM, that's where it gets tricky. This is where API connections come in. And honestly, this is where automation agencies can bring real value. That's exactly when our clients come to us, because now it's not just drag and drop anymore. You've got to know how to structure an API call, map parameters, pass the right data, and handle authentication. It is a bit more technical, but that's exactly why they are willing to pay for it. If you're thinking about building and selling these types of workflows, you need to be comfortable with APIs and HTTP requests. That's exactly why I included this section in the video. And also, n8n makes this part very doable. They've got an HTTP request node that lets you create custom API calls for just about any tool out there. So let me walk you through the basics step by step, and I'll show you how this works. An API is basically a way for two systems to talk to each other. It lets you send a request to an app or service and get back the right info or action you need without needing to know how that app works internally under the hood. Now, one of the easiest ways to understand this is the ATM analogy. Imagine you walk to an ATM and ask for $50. You don't need to know how the bank works behind the scenes, right? You just tap a few buttons and boom, cash comes out. In this case, the ATM is the interface. It takes your request, passes it to the bank's internal system, which is the application in this case. Then it gets a response and gives you the result. So that's exactly how APIs work. You send a request, the system processes it, and then sends you a response. Simple as that. Let's break down what actually makes up an HTTP request, because once you get this, you can talk to pretty much any API out there. First, you've got the URL. This is just the address of whatever you are trying to reach. Next is the method. This tells the API what kind of action you want to take. Get is for grabbing data. Post is for sending new data. Put is for updating something that already exists, like, for example, updating a user's profile information, like changing their email in the database. And then delete, well, that's exactly what it sounds like. Then there are the headers. These are like extra instructions or context, things like authentication tokens or telling the API that you want the response in JSON format. Okay. And finally, there is the body, which is optional. And this is the actual data you're sending, usually when you're creating or updating something. And you'll mostly see this with post or put requests. Once you understand these four parts, you can build and read pretty much any API request in n8n using the HTTP request node. Once you send a request, the app replies with a response, right? And that has three main parts. First is the status code. It tells you how things went, right? For example, 200 means it worked. 401 means you are not authorized. Maybe your API key is missing or something like that. And 500 means something broke on their end. Then there are the headers. The headers give extra details about the response, like saying, hey, the data I'm sending back is in JSON format, or telling you how big the file is, for example. And finally, the body. This is where the actual data lives. So if you asked for a list of users, the response body would be that user list in JSON format. Most APIs are locked down. You can't just send a request and expect it to work. You usually need an API key or auth token to prove that you're allowed to access that system. And you already seen this in the tutorials, like when we had to connect to OpenAI, I had to copy and paste an API key to get it working, right? In n8n, by the way, this is super straightforward. You just set up your credentials once, and after that, any HTTP request node can use them automatically. Like when we added a new LLM node, we didn't have to copy and paste the API key all over again. Okay, now what is a webhook? So the idea is that with APIs, you are the one reaching out and asking, hey, anything new? And then you're waiting for a response, right? But with webhooks, the data comes to you automatically the moment something happens. And this is perfect for real-time updates. Like, for example, Stripe, it can ping your workflow the second a new payment is made. If you were using a regular HTTP request, your system would keep asking Stripe, did a new payment happen? Over and over again. But with a webhook, Stripe just sends the data to you instantly. No need to ask, okay? So it's cleaner, it's faster, and it's way more efficient. Now you understand how it works in theory. Let's quickly set up an HTTP request node in n8n to show you how it looks like in their UI. All right, so let's add an HTTP request node. And here we will see the 4 parts for the HTTP request that we just discussed, right? We have the method, we have the URL, and then we have headers and body, right? Now, usually you don't have to know how to set it up. Usually the third-party system that you want to connect to, that you want to send this request to, it should have API documentation where you can see how you need to structure your URL, what is required to access the system, how you need to structure your body, etc., etc. So let's assume that I want to send a GET request to CoinGecko, and I want to pull the price for Bitcoin. All right. So what would I do? First of all, I would navigate to. Usually, I just scroll down and look for an API docs here. Crypto API here looks like the resource that we are looking for. And now we need to find the documentation. We need to find the instructions how to actually set up the request. So let's just scroll down and click Explore Docs. So I'm doing this step by step with you just to show you how I would approach this. Now we've got the documentation. Everything will be described here. But these days, most of them have this Ask AI button. So I'll just ask it, how would I send a GET request to pull the price for coins? And let's see what it replies. So it's just looking for the relevant information from its documentation, just saving us some time. Of course, we could do this manually. So let's see. For the public API, you can make a GET request to get coin prices using this endpoint. And we get our URL here. So let's just copy it and paste it to our node in n8n. So now we have method GET, we have our URL. Let's actually specify that I want to get Bitcoin price in USD. Adopt the URL, and let's see if it works. All right, so it replied. Now I get the updated URL with some parameters that I asked for. So I'll just copy this one. I'll just paste it here. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see that now I have the ID Bitcoin and currency USD, and these parameters were structured by CoinGecko. But if I read through this documentation, I would find exactly the same information. So now let's just test step and see what output I get. Yeah, so the execution was successful. I have Bitcoin, I have USD 77271, so that's the price. Let's go back to CoinGecko. Let's check the price for Bitcoin, 77238. So obviously it is dynamic, it is changing every second, but this is exactly what it is. So it works. I didn't use any headers, any body, so authentication here is not required because this is a publicly accessible API endpoint by CoinGecko. Obviously, if you had to authenticate yourself to get access to the system, it would be a bit more complicated. So now let's do another one, but this time it is going to be a post request. And what I want to do is let's add a new node. Let's create an HTTP request. Now the method will be post. And what I want to do is create a new row in my Airtable table, right? So for that, I'll just go to Google. I'll search for Airtable API. And let's just manually establish this connection, Airtable API. So here we don't have any AI assistance, so I'll have to search through the documentation manually. But we have this search API reference search engine, so I'm going to use this one. So what do we need to do? We need to create a record, right? So let's go to create records. And here we already get our URL for the post method request. We also get the request example. So this is what needs to be sent. We also get an example for a successful response. So first of all, let's just use this information. Let's copy this link. Let's go back to n8n. So method, again, post, then URL, we paste it from our documentation. What we need to replace here is base ID and table ID, right? So my base here is n8n demo, and my table is imported table. If you don't know how to find base ID and table ID, just look through the documentation or ask ChatGPT. This is exactly what I did. So I know that my base ID is, let me show you the URL, is right here. It starts with app. I'll just copy this one. I'll paste it here instead of base ID. And then my base ID is here, app, up until the slash, paste it here. And my table ID is here, starting with TB and then this ID. Just copy it and paste it instead of table ID. All right, so the URL is ready. What else do we need? We need to authenticate our access. So here we have two headers. As you see, H and H, it means headers. And then we've got our body. So this is the format, how we should structure our request. So first of all, let's add two headers for authorization and content type. So I'll just copy authorization. Let's go back to n8n. Send headers, let's enable this option, and send body, let's enable this one as well. For headers, name authorization, value should be our token, right? So bearer space your token, bearer space your token. This needs to go to value. Now we need to get our token, right? Our unique API key. So if you scroll down a bit under requirements, you will see that we need personal access token. So let's just open this one. It is a clickable link and see what it says. Personal access tokens are for personal development, blah, blah, blah. And now we can click on create tokens. We should be redirected to the relevant page. Personal access tokens, create token. Pretty straightforward. So let's name it n8n demo. Then we need to add a scope. Let's just add a few scopes to be able to write, read, and here as well. So this is basically the permissions that our API would have. So we want to be able to do a lot of things, okay? And then access to a base. So let's select our relevant database, n8n demo, and create token. Now I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna go back to my n8n node here, and here bearer space, and instead of your token, I'm gonna paste the token that I just created. And now I'm gonna add another parameter. So for the second header that we have in this example, it should be content type as a name, and as a value, it should be application JSON. All right. And the last thing is body. So body content type should be JSON. Specific body, let's select using JSON. And now I'll just copy the example from here. All right. Copy and paste it right to my body here. I'm gonna delete maybe this part because I don't need it. And since I don't have address in my table, but I have name, email, and phone number, let's change the address to email, and an example email would be n8n demo at gmail.com. Name, we will leave Union Square. Let's delete this one. All right, and I think it should work. Let's just close this, and I'm going to test this step. So again, we've got our method post. We've got the URL from Airtable documentation, API documentation. Then for the headers, we pasted authorization, bearer, and the token that we created, content type application JSON. And then for the body, I just used the example from the documentation and I changed a few fields here. But of course, for the production, instead of a static value here, I would use the parameter, the value from the previous node as an input here. I hope it's obvious. Let's test step. All right, and the output is that execution is successful. I got my record ID, I got name Union Square, and an email n8ndemo@gmail.com. Let's go to my table in Airtable, and as you see, a new record is created, Union Square, email. So it works. As you saw, all the information that I fulfilled here was taken from the documentation, and this is how you should approach this. Every third-party tool should have the documentation, otherwise you can't guess how to access it, right? All right, of course, this particular integration was not required because I could just go to Airtable node and set up, create a record node, right? And it would be much easier to set up. But I just wanted to show you that these two nodes are doing exactly the same thing, but with pre-configured Airtable node. All the code, all the technical stuff is reading under the hood already by n8n team. But if you don't have the pre-configured built-in configuration and integration, you can always use HTTP request node and do it yourself. So this is a very powerful tool. And of course, when you understand how it all works, you can use a webhook. Here you get the URL, you get the method, and webhook is a very powerful tool as well, because as I said, you'd be receiving the data instantly as the event happens. So for example, if you had a custom form on your website, so whenever it is filled in, the webhook could be triggered, so you'd receive that information and the workflow would run. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just remember to use AI. With all the AI tools, with ChatGPT, it is getting easier and easier. You can always ask ChatGPT how to establish an API connection with a particular tool. If it is a popular service, you can just ask what the body should look like, and usually ChatGPT would provide a proper format. So feel free to experiment, to practice. The more documentation you work with, the more tools you connect to, the easier it becomes. All right, guys, if you've made it this far, seriously, you are already ahead of 90% of people, and you should be proud of that. Now, I know that this stuff takes quite some time and effort to fully digest, right? So if you're still here, I'm guessing it's not just casual curiosity. You see the same opportunity I do and probably want to take advantage of it. That's why I've put together a few extra goodies to help you move faster, especially if you're thinking not just about building AI agents, but also about selling them and turning this into a real business. Make sure to check out my other video called How to Run an AI Agency in 2025, Complete Playbook. In that one, I break down a step-by-step strategy from the skills you need all the way to how to package and sell these agentic solutions to real clients. Number 2 is build an inbound lead flow. You could be the best AI agent builder out there, but if no one knows you exist, you'll still get 0 clients. Right now, YouTube is one of the most powerful channels for generating inbound leads in the AI space. It's already working for many AI agency owners, and we are still early. Some guys have started just a few months ago and are already generating hundreds of thousands of views. So here's a simple trick that works. If you join our AI fellowship, you'll be going through a bunch of technical modules, learning how to build real solutions. And while you're learning, just start documenting the process. Post YouTube videos showing what you're building or testing out. You don't need to be an expert, just be real, share what you're learning, and that's enough. That's enough to start building trust and attracting attention. This creates a powerful loop. You learn, you share, and you grow an audience. And that audience turns into leads and clients. Inside the program, I've also recorded a full guide on how to start and grow a YouTube channel in this space. I cover everything from what gear you can use on a budget, to get great quality, to content strategy, niche-specific tips, and even the exact SOPs I personally use for planning, recording, and editing these videos. All right, with that said, let's jump into some pro tips and best practices for building smarter and more reliable workflows with n8n. So to build reliable and production-ready workflows, we need a way to handle errors properly. Errors will happen. We just need to identify them as soon as possible and be able to debug them properly. This executions tab here is super important. Here you can check all the executions. You can see which ones were successful, which ones failed. If you see a failed execution like this one, you can double click on this execution and you will see it inside the workflow, right? And this is basically the snapshot of the state of nodes at the end of the execution, right? Now you can go to debug in editor, and here you can open that node and check what was the issue here. So authorization failed, please check your credentials. Pretty straightforward. So you can go to executions per workflow. Here you will have all the executions for this particular workflow. Or you can go to, again, back to your general overview and here to executions tab, and you will see the executions for all the workflows that you have. Now, of course, you can't monitor manually all the executions. That's why we are going to use error workflow. So let's create a workflow. Let's add first step, type error trigger. So this node can be triggered by other workflows whenever they have errors, okay? So let's fetch test events just to get some parameters here. So we have execution, ID, URL, error message. We've got the workflow name, all good. Now you can communicate this information to yourself, to your team, using whatever channel you prefer. You can send an email in Gmail, you can send a Telegram message, or you can send a message in Slack. So let's just add another node and I'll type Slack. And let's say send a message. So this is what we need. I have my credential already saved. The connection is very straightforward. Just follow the documentation. Now the resource should be message, operation send to, let's select user from list, and I'll select myself. The message type should be simple text message. And for the message text, what I really want to know, let's just open it up. So the name of the workflow, then I want to know the URL of the workflow, just to be able, to click on it and be redirected to the editor right away, and also the error message. So now I'll just drag and drop these values from the output from our error trigger node. So the name of the workflow, just drag and drop it here. The URL, drag and drop it here, and the error message right here, drag and drop here. All right, so it is set up. Let me show you my Slack channel here. It is empty. Now I'm gonna test step. All right, and I received this message: workflow, example workflow, URL, error message. Now we can trigger this error workflow by any other workflow whenever an error happens. So let's just give it a name. Let's say error workflow n8n tutorial, just to make it clear. Save. Now let's go to a different workflow. So this is our AI agent with RAG capabilities, which we built together today. So what you need to do here is just go to the three dots here, then navigate to settings, and within settings, you need to select an error workflow. So let's find our error workflow n8n tutorial, the one that we just created. Click save. And now whenever you get an error, it should trigger our workflow right here. But just for your information, if you have the first trigger node when chat message received, so this one within n8n, or if you have like manual trigger, it would not work. You need something real. So let's just add another trigger node. Let's click add node, search for Gmail, and then trigger on message received. All right, it is already connected to my account. Every minute, simplify. Okay, all good. Just close it. Connect it to our AI agent. Let's click save. Let's also activate it. All right. And now we need to make sure that it will get an error. So let's just delete the brain. Let's click save. Okay, now it should error for sure. Let's send an email. What's your number? Send. All right, let's go back. And let's wait for that execution. All right, so the execution is here. I can clearly see that we've got an error. So it was a chat model subnode must be connected and enabled. Okay, now let's see our Slack channel. So this is what we received. Workflow AI agent with RUG for Wellspring. That's the name of our workflow here. Then I can just click on this URL and I'll be taken directly to this execution. I can click debug in editor. And this way I can debug the errors. So this is how you can be notified about the errors and debug them quickly. Also, if you go to this Slack node, instead of a user, you can select channel, and you can have a dedicated channel in Slack to have your team notified about all the errors. Another way to handle errors is using stop and error nodes. So let me quickly show you. Let's assume you got a webhook as a trigger node. Let's say you got a form on your website, and once it is submitted, you get email, name, and something else. All right, so this is just dummy data. Now let's build a quick workflow. I'm gonna add if. So this is our logic node. And here I want to have a condition. So, very stupid example, but let's say if our email contains string contains at, then we would assume that it is a valid email. If not, it would be invalid email, right? So let's close this one. And now, if true, then we assume that it is a valid email, and we want to send an email to that address. So let's say Gmail. Send a message. All right, we're not going to set it up now. But if it is invalid, so if false, if it doesn't contain at, then we're gonna use stop and error node. And here we just need to set it up quickly. Error type, error message, let's say invalid email. And if you go to settings, you can clarify what should happen if we trigger this node. So on error, we're gonna stop the workflow. All right, let's close it. Let's also set the error workflow. Let's select our error workflow n8n tutorial. Click save. Let's save it. Let's generate an email without at. So just like this. Save. All right, test workflow. Okay, we need to set it up quickly. All right, save. Now let's test the workflow. Okay, so as you see, it went through the false route because my test email here was without @ symbol here. So that's why it considered that our email was invalid, and it went to our stop and error node. Here you can see the input. So it works well. This way you can catch any invalid or unexpected data and make your system more reliable. This way you can capture any invalid or unexpected data and make your system more reliable. All right, so error handling is very important. So just to recap, use the execution log to see what happens when a workflow runs. Set up a global error workflow, to catch failures and notify you. It takes you only like 2 minutes to set it up, but it makes a difference. Use stop and error nodes to catch invalid inputs or unexpected data, and send your data somewhere useful. If you use Slack, use Slack. If you use emails or Notion or whatever works for your team, use that particular communication channel. And the last tip is simple. Just start building. Open up the n8n editor and try things from scratch. Watch YouTube tutorials and follow along step by step. I want to give a quick shout out to Nate Herc, a super smart guy. He has a ton of n8n tutorials on his YouTube channel, and they helped me a lot when I was learning, so definitely check out his channel. Also, explore the n8n community templates. You'll find tons of examples from real users. Try replicating a few. It's a great way to, get inspired and practice at the same time. And don't forget to use AI during your learning process. Like, one of the things you can do is when you go to the templates and you find a new template and you struggle to understand it, you can always just snap a screenshot and then go to ChatGPT and ask it to break it down. And usually it will provide you with a decent explanation, step by step, So it is good at least as a starting point for you to dig deeper. And just as a tip, based on my experience, GPT-o3 mini high model is one of the best ones for brainstorming like this one. At the end of the day, the only real way to get better is by doing, right? So the sooner you jump into the editor, the faster you'll level up. All right, thank you very much for watching. I know this video was heavy, pretty deep and packed with info, but if you made it all the way to the end, you are in a great spot. You've now got everything you need to start building. And honestly, if you truly absorbed, if you really understood everything we covered, even if you had to rewatch some parts, you are way ahead of the curve. Like Naval Ravikant says, if you understand something deep enough, you don't really need to memorize it. And if you understand these concepts, you are already on track to build a real business in the AI space. If you want to go deeper, check out our AI fellowship. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions you might have. Also, drop a comment, let me know which kind of n8n tutorials you want to see next. More videos are coming soon. Thank you very much for watching this one, and I wish you the best of luck. Bye.